been yet fully realized. Route 1 has the incredible potential to be transformed into an active, vibrant, mixed-use hub that supports residents, creates jobs, and fosters community. However, as you drive along Route 1, today you will see a challenge that has been building for decades. You see motels built for a different era, a different economy, and in some cases, a different standard of safety and quality. Some of these properties have sat mostly vacant for years. Others have become sources of concern for crime, for blight, and for the quality of life our residents deserve. Today, many of those properties are not contributing to the positive vision for Route 1 that we collectively envision. And that's not the future that I envision for Route 1. During the past several years, we have taken real, meaningful steps to begin turning that vision into action to support motel owners and improve safety along Route 1 for our residents. Just last year, I signed 3 pieces of council legislation to improve safety, accountability, and support reinvestment along the corridor. In 2025, I sponsored and signed legislation to renew and expand the Route 1 tax credit program. This expansion offers meaningful tax relief to commercial and industry property owners along the corridor who renovate, upgrade, or rehabilitate their properties. Since fiscal year 2022, we have invested more than $315,000 in tax credits for businesses along Route 1. This funding has directly supported businesses that are making key upgrades and improvements to their properties, including several motel and hotel properties such as Super 8, Holiday Inn, and the White Elk Motel. With the tax credit program now authorized through 2031, we are sending a clear, sustained message to property owners. Howard County remains committed to this corridor, and we are investing in the future. I also signed into law new authority for Howard County and the Housing Commission to enter into a right to purchase motel properties so that when these sites change hands, we have a seat at the table for our residents. And in 2025, we enacted legislation that closed a dangerous loophole by prohibiting hourly room rentals, a practice that had enabled human trafficking and other illegal illicit activity. We didn't just pass this law, we backed it with enforcement. These steps represent important progress. However, we know that more can and more must be done to move our vision for Route 1 forward. Today, I'm proud to announce that we are charting a new course for motels along the Route 1 corridor. Today, I'm proud to announce that we are supporting strongly Zoning Regulation Amendment 2021, a bold, thoughtful ZRA that creates a real pathway to transform aging motel properties along Route 1. This kind of forward-thinking policy that Route 1 has needed for a very long time. ZRA 2021 unlocks possibility. When a property owner chooses to demolish, redevelop, or adaptively reuse a motel site, they will gain access to new opportunities. Retail, restaurants, office space, employment supporting flex space, and housing, including affordable housing. Importantly, this policy is thoughtful and focused. It applies specifically to motel properties along Route 1, and it requires that residential development must include at least 15% moderate income housing units. This will ensure that redevelopment aligns with the needs of our community, not just today, but in the long run. This legislation offers us long-term strategic answers to transform these properties and fulfill our shared vision. This transformation also fulfills the vision of the Route 1 Corridor Master Plan. HOCO by Design and the Route 1 Corridor Plan both call for expanded zoning tools to catalyze reinvestment, to support employment, to create mixed-use activity centers, and to increase housing access. ZRA 221 puts those plans into action. There are approximately 16 sites along the corridor that could be impacted by this zoning amendment. Imagine 16 opportunities to replace blight with vitality. 16 ways to embrace a safer, more beautiful future. 16 chances to bring jobs, services, and homes to a corridor that connects our community. 16 properties that could go from being a challenge to being an asset. Property like the one behind me transform into a walkable mixed-use destination. Shops on the ground floor, homes above with people invested in the future of our community are creating wealth for future generations and families, walking businesses growing. And yes, a high school down the road. A blighted parking lot that once sat empty becomes a community anchor. The kind of place, see, they support it. The kind of place where people gather, shop, and invest. That is the Route 1 that we are committed to building together. This work is not happening by accident. This is a result of years of planning, advocacy, and partnership. I want to thank the owners of the Terrace, Turf, and Boulevard Motels for stepping forward as we begin to write this next chapter for the Route 1 corridor and our neighbors around it. I want to recognize our incredible team at the Department of Planning and Zoning for helping us to get there. And I want to thank the Planning Board for their careful consideration of ZRA 221. Just 10 days ago, the board voted unanimously to recommend this amendment for adoption. That kind of consensus sends a clear message. This is the right step forward for ZRA 221. It's grounded in sound planning principles and aligned with the county's adopted vision for Route 1. And most importantly, I want to thank the residents, the business owners, and the community stakeholders who believed in Route 1 for years and never stopped pushing for progress. Route 1 matters. Our neighbors close to Route 1 matter. It connects our community, and this corridor supports our economy, and it represents one of the greatest opportunities we have to shape our future. And today, with ZRA 221, we are turning that potential into possibility. The future of Route 1 is not something that we need to wait for. It's something that we build together. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive Ball. Before we continue our program, I want to recognize the elected officials and dignitaries we have with us here today. As you heard from the County Executive, the County Council was an important partner in passing legislation to strengthen our efforts on motels along Route 1, and we're joined by Councilmember Liz Walsh. Thank you for being here. I also want to recognize Jessica Clayton on behalf of United States Senator Chris Van Hollen, Danielle Aquara on behalf of Representative Sarah Alfrith, and we have with us from Howard Community College, Grace Anastasiadis and Maureen Evans. Thank you for being here. Next, I'd like to invite up Gary Olshansky, who is representing the owners of the Terrace, Turf, and Boulevard Motels. Thank you.
Move this down a little bit. Good morning, and thank you, County Executive Ball, for putting together this and supporting this important legislation. My name is Gary Olshansky, and I'm here on behalf of the ownership of several motel properties along the Route 1 corridor, including the one behind us, Turf and Boulevard Motels as well. ZRA 221 is an important step forward. It creates a practical tool that allows property owners to move beyond outdated uses and begin to reinvest in the corridor in a meaningful way. This is about unlocking opportunities for redevelopment and helping move Route 1 forward in a way that aligns with the county's vision. We appreciate the leadership of the county executive and the collaboration that made this possible, and we look forward to being part of the corridor's continued revitalization. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We know it's important to have a close partnership with the property owners to make this all possible. Next, I'd like to welcome up Linda Eisenberg, Director of Planning and Zoning for Howard County.
All right, good morning, everyone. The purpose of ZRA 221 is simple but powerful: to encourage adaptive reuse and redevelopment of aging hotel and motel properties along the Route 1 corridor. For too long, these outdated sites have created at times an unsightly and an underutilized stretch, well past their useful life. This regulation amendment gives them a second life, restoring vitality, attracting investment, and continuing the momentum of redevelopment already underway on the Route 1 corridor. Change of this kind does not happen by chance. It takes the right combination of vision, willing property owners, and political will to move the needle. That's exactly what we have here with ZRA 221. On a technical level, this amendment updates Section 128 of the Supplemental Zoning Regulations by creating a new section, Adaptive Reuse and Redevelopment of Existing Hotel-Motel Sites along Route 1 corridor. It applies only to parcels with frontage on Route 1 or Washington Boulevard and opens the door for redevelopment into a broad range of uses, from multifamily housing, mixed-use developments, to commercial, industrial, and retail projects allowed within the Corridor Activity Center zoning district. Every zoning amendment undergoes a Department of Planning and Zoning review for consistency with our general plan, HOCA by design, and in this case, the Route 1 corridor plan. ZRA 221 strongly supports both, advancing a comprehensive rebuilding strategy to expand employment, shopping, housing, community amenities, and transportation options. The Planning Board unanimously approved this measure 5-0 on March 5th. The next step is for Council review and approval, which will move this vision from policy to reality, breathing new life into a critical gateway corridor and multiple activity centers and shaping a more vibrant, connective community. ZRA 221 is more than just a zoning change. It is a catalyst for renewal along Route 1, turning yesterday's hotels into tomorrow's neighborhoods and business hubs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. Next, we'll hear from Kelly Simoneau, Director of Housing and Community Development.
Good morning. The county's 5-year consolidated plan was adopted in July of 2025. The county is required to complete this plan to receive federal funds to address housing and community development needs in our community. The county spends several months gathering input from residents and nonprofit agencies through surveys, focus groups, and public meetings to prepare the plan. As evidenced in the current plan and the prior 2 5-year plans, the main challenge facing residents continues to be housing affordability. This is true for renters, home buyers, and homeowners. Both renters and homeowners are experiencing housing cost burdens because wages are not keeping pace with housing costs. Approximately 21,000 low to moderate income households experience housing cost or severe housing cost burden, with more than 58% of low-income renter households experiencing housing cost burdens. At the same time, the limited supply of affordable housing units, both rental and homeownership, increases the cost of the units that are available. Older adults, families with children, and people living with disabilities are the ones most likely to be priced out of the housing market. According to the data in the 5-year plan, only 2% of Howard County's low-income households are living in housing that they can afford. Low-income households with fewer housing options often double up and triple up in these units. During County Executive Ball's administration, the preservation of affordable housing units has been a priority for the Housing Department. In 2020, the county enacted the right of first purchase legislation to require owners of rental housing to offer a right of first purchase to the county and the Housing Commission. That legislation was amended in May of 2025 to add the right of first purchase requirement for motels and mobile home parks. Since 2020, the Housing Department's budget has included funding to take advantage of opportunities that will increase or preserve affordable housing units. If a property is acquired, at least 15% of the units must be made or remain affordable under the county's Moderate Income Housing Unit program. The motels on the Route 1 corridor may be the last affordable housing option for low-income households in Howard County. These units are often older, smaller, and not designed for long-term occupancy. These motels lack community amenities, such as green space for children, and accessibility features needed for older adults and persons with disabilities. No single action can entirely erase housing affordability as a challenge in the county. The Howard County Housing Opportunities Master Plan provides a comprehensive framework to address these challenges and support the housing needs of residents at different income levels, ages, and abilities. This CRA supports the Housing Master Plan's objectives to coordinate policy across the county, particularly with planning and zoning, helps address the housing affordability challenge for existing and future residents, and provides opportunities to reduce blight on the Route 1 corridor and create new, affordable, and accessible housing units for residents. We look forward to seeing the CRA move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And finally, we'll hear from Reverend Mary Sularud, the Rector of Grace Episcopal Church in Elkridge.
I rarely have this much competition for speaking on a Sunday. Thank you for allowing me to be here at this moment. I represent and serve a church that represents one of the oldest continuing worshiping communities in Elkridge. We have a church site that's just up the hill on Montgomery Road, and we have another one that's around the bend on Main Street in Elkridge. Our first two of those burned down because coal-fired trains set fire to the roof. We moved it up the hill after that. I'm here because forever and a day, this community, which represents primarily people who live in Elkridge, has been a good neighbor to everyone else in Elkridge. It's a community that is diverse in as many ways as you can think of, especially economically. And so high on their list of concerns is serving people with adequate and affordable housing. We have a early learning center that includes a daycare and a opportunity for preschool for 3- and 4-year-olds. We are almost the only center of its kind that accepts what used to be called vouchers, is now called Maryland scholarships, so that children of all sorts and conditions and incomes can receive an adequate preschool education. That's in the face of the fact that there aren't lots and lots of spaces for them even in our public schools where they're also allowed to be. So near and dear to our hearts is serving those most in need and ensuring that Howard County is not just a place for people like me who live in a great 55-plus community in Columbia, but people like the folks that I serve who live all around this corridor, who wish this corridor many days would look anything like other than what it does so often, who wish with all their might that in improving opportunities for people to live in this county, that we preserve something just as important and so much a part of the justice of God that we value. And that is places for people to live who can afford so little. That's near and dear to our hearts. It's a way of life and people we want to keep here with us. I'm here, I think, because I represent the power of that voice, which is active in so many ways in this community. So I want to thank you, County Executive Ball, and for the wonderful people who own these motels, for thinking ahead not only to how this might be more beautiful, more a part of the kind of community life that helps people not only live but thrive, but also an opportunity for people to have a home when it's so hard to find one in this day and age. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Sularud. And thank you all for joining us today for this important announcement. Through our efforts to revitalize legacy motels along the Route 1 corridor, we can continue to foster a vibrant Route 1 for all of Howard County. This concludes our press conference. Thank you very much.